Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Reimagine 2021, brought to you by Mousebell. I'm your co-host, Ashlie Meredith, and today we're bringing you version 9.0 of our virtual conference series. This time, we're calling it Game of Chains. Who will be the next chain on the throne? We're exploring all the latest innovations in the Bitcoin and Ethereum networks, but also asking, is a new chain going to take the throne? And if so, who will it be? I'm excited to be joined by Rob Viglione. He's the CEO of Horizen Labs. Welcome, Rob. How are you doing today?
Ashley, great. Thank you for having me. Pleasure to be here.
Well, thank you so much for being with us. And you're working on a really exciting project. It's a privacy-focused public blockchain. Tell us kind of the nuts and bolts of Zen blockchain.
Easy question, right? I should have a 30-second elevator pitch down perfectly, but basically we are a privacy-focused blockchain system, a system of systems where you can have a lot of different blockchains that are operating in parallel, all connected together security-wise with something called zero-knowledge proofs. That's a very sophisticated form of cryptography that we use for kind of an interoperability protocol. These are programmable blockchains. You can basically build your blockchain infrastructure easily with us, securely with us, low cost with us. So it's really designed to just be out there as like a large infrastructure player that does infrastructure right, which means high security and privacy.
And you all just launched in 2019. What was kind of the impetus for starting a blockchain project for you?
Yeah, so that's Horizen Labs, which is a blockchain software company, VC backed. But actually, the story goes back a little bit further for me personally. And like for me, I got into blockchain or Bitcoin back then when I was stationed in Afghanistan, and I actually started giving lectures and seminars in Afghanistan. Like my buddies and I would put posters up all over the place, try to get people to come in. And we'll teach them about Bitcoin, this crazy internet money thing, how to set up a wallet, how to do transactions, how to safely, store your Bitcoin. And then from there, I had the opportunity to go back to academia, and I went back for my PhD in finance because I just wanted to make that switch from hard science to social science. And I had a ridiculously, I would say, nice and open-minded faculty in my department, actually at the University of South Carolina, where they let me continue studying Bitcoin, but from like an academic research perspective. So that was really cool. I was able to do my PhD in crypto finance. Of all things at the time, it was just a crazy idea. By the time I graduated and defended my dissertation, it was the hot new thing. So I was just kind of dumb luck to fall in there. Then they hired me back as an adjunct professor to teach Bitcoin and blockchain applications in finance. So that was fun. I did that for a couple semesters, and then I launched with a co-founder, what at the time was Zencash in 2017, which was really designed to do better economics in Bitcoin and like take privacy technology and scale that out in like a big, meaningful way. And I can tell you why I think privacy is absolutely critical for these public networks. And then from there, we launched Horizen Labs in 2019 and got some VC funding to launch the company.
Yeah, that's so awesome. Well, we love academics over here at Mousebell. We've got the Mousebell University program. So any students who are tuning in, if you're looking to learn more about blockchain, definitely recommend checking out mousebell.university. But my colleague and I, who I went to graduate school with, is getting his PhD in philosophy, helps run that program as well. So it's super interesting to me, the backgrounds that people come from in order to build this technology and build it the right way. And like you said, who are going to see the problems that they think are most important and have thought about them a lot, like privacy being the way forward for blockchain. But you have a super interesting background, and I just want any students tuning in who may have a similar background or interests and are wondering, is blockchain a career path for me, to hear a little bit more from you. So you graduated with a physics degree, you served in the Air Force in Afghanistan.
I did, yeah. So I was an Air Force scientist, physicist, mathematician, working on satellite systems, launch vehicles, and really at the end of the day, just building and acquiring software to put in these big systems. So that lends itself really well to building like really big distributed protocols like Horizen.
Yeah, and it's so cool that you were able to also, educate your fellow soldiers and do talks on Bitcoin while you were out serving. That's super cool. So yeah, tell us from speaking directly to students, tell them a little more about how your interests kind of took you from physics to finance to blockchain, and any advice you might have for people who are thinking about that path.
Yeah, well, finance is like the physics of economics. So for me, that was a lot of fun. And I did asset pricing, which is extremely, theoretically rigorous. And then like it's like theoretical physics meets data science is the route that I took, which is a lot of fun. And it's just a different way of looking at the world. But I think the bottom line is there's so many different skill sets that are needed to build out these new ecosystems, and they range from across the board. Like everyone thinks traditionally software engineers, software architects, like let's build better, more efficient hardware to support these networks. Well, no, it actually goes much deeper than that. You actually need people that can think about the economics of decentralized systems, how to keep them decentralized, how to keep them efficient, how to keep like continuous streams of micropayments going so that you can reward contribution on the margin, right? I mean, these are deep economics problems that we're solving real time as an industry. Then you need people that can tell stories, like synthesize there are people that could do a much better job of telling you what Horizen is than I can, which is pretty bad to say. But like, we need people that can synthesize stories, market, like evangelize these systems, do design work, right? So there's really a full complement. We need business people. We need anyone that really can, like, you can think of what we're doing in the crypto world is like a microcosm of the broader society, and all of the things that that are part of like the real world, we're replicating or innovating or disrupting or doing like our own versions in the crypto world. So basically there's a role for everyone, really independent of what your skill set is.
Absolutely. I always try to kind of advise students that just adding blockchain as a domain expertise on top of what they're already really good at, if you're a writer, start a blog, start researching and trying to teach other people about blockchain. I think there's even a gap a bit in the blockchain space because in order to build a protocol, you kind of have to be this like tech nerd and you get really excited about the technology and you want to build a product. And what we do at Mousebell, for anyone who's interested in support like this, we also have a startup school. And so we'll be talking to developers who just need a little bit of extra, communication skills of like how to bring to the forefront why a user should care about this, or, thinking more about customers, or just even a pitch deck design, things like that. So really welcome anyone who's interested to get into the blockchain space to take the skills they already have and just add blockchain to it.
I agree.
Yeah, and so I study like political philosophy. So for me, I think it's super interesting seeing how do we incentivize and disincentivize collaboration, or bad actors or good actors, and all this concept of DAOs, and how can we have how can we kind of code in these like societal collaborative almost like constitutions, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. So how do you do decision making in a distributed way? And like, how do you weight whose inputs, and ultimately, how do you make that final call on we're going to do this? The entire network's going in this direction. That's a really hard problem. We haven't exactly figured it out, but I mean, it's kind of the holy grail of the industry.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, thanks for sharing all your experience and that advice for students. I think it would be good now to kind of educate people who are just tuning in. And for anyone who is, highly recommend go head over to our YouTube channel, Reimagine 2020, smash that subscribe button. We've done this event 8 times now. This is our 9th event. Last month we did an NFT event. So I think there is a lot of people entering the space right now who, maybe they just are collecting a couple coins, or they think it's exciting to be able to sell their art in this way, and don't really understand all of the technology behind these projects and what they can really do. So tell us more about Horizen and what is a zero knowledge proof, and what is what is the cryptographic thing going on, and for the layperson, and why is it important?
Yeah, so I mean, at the end of the day, what we've done as an industry is figure out how to do replicated databases in a decentralized way, and that's like a mouthful of jargon in a way where we're having a decentralized system where anyone can participate. You can go and launch a node, like run your software, join the network, and really we all participate in the infrastructure and the processing of transactions on the network. That's blockchain, and the reason why this was important was because for the first time in the digital domain, we could actually have like a decentralized way where no one's in control of telling us what's real. So if I transfer some Bitcoin to you or some Zen to you, like, I could do that directly to you in a peer-to-peer way, and the world verifies it. We don't need a bank to verify that transaction, that I have the Zen and that you received the Zen, right? The world can verify that. So that's the big innovation of blockchain in general. We take it to the next step in a few important ways. So one is recognizing that there are many different participants to growing these ecosystems. So like the economics story, I think we do a really good job. And kind of an indication of that is we started rewarding different types of network participants, not just miners in the network, to get people to do valuable work. And one example of this is we have the largest node network in the industry. So we have like 45,000 nodes around the world, so servers running our software so that the network is always up. It's persistent, it's not going to go down, right? That's extremely unlikely. And there are blockchains actually where the blockchains go down because they don't have enough infrastructure running. Not going to be the case with us because we tweak the economics to actually reward different types of people contributing, and we reward many different types of people in some could say an evolving way towards a DAO. But the other thing is scalability. We do really well because we realize that you're not going to be able to jam all of the world's economic activity through a single pipeline, like through a single blockchain. It's just not going to happen, right? Like in a replicated peer-to-peer database where every node needs to replicate every single state transition on that network, you're not going to be able to do all of the world's economic activity. So what we did is we created a blockchain of blockchains architecture where we can run up to 1,000 different blockchains simultaneously in our network. And you could then think of, well, you could have your DeFi blockchain, your NFT blockchain, 10 different NFT blockchains. You could have a blockchain for this large enterprise, a blockchain for that large enterprise, a blockchain for this government, and so on, right? So it's really meant to be modular and in a way that really scales hard. The third important thing is we recognize that the world is going to put its important data onto a public ledger unless you can properly provide privacy and security for that data. So this is where we get the zero knowledge proofs. Like you asked to kick this off. This is the class of cryptography that we think is absolutely critical to scaling these blockchain systems into the real world, because this is the class where you can actually publish information or broadcast data to a public network. It's encrypted, but you can still perform operations on that data. So you can still make use of that data without revealing the data. So you can publish the data into the ledger. The world can verify that that data exists without knowing what that data is exactly, but then you can perform computations on that data. And why might this matter? Because that sounds ridiculously abstract. Is because you can think of like a simple use case of, I want to prove to you that I'm over 21 years old so you can sell me that bottle of rum, right? And I don't want to show you my address. I don't want to tell you anything about me. I just want you to be able to see that I'm over 21 and that's it. This would be an example of like a zero knowledge proof where you just have that Boolean output of, this condition met, you have a proof of this condition, but you don't get to see who is Rob Viglione under the hood.
Yeah, absolutely. So three kind of things that you brought up that you think it's important now that we are capable of participating in decentralized systems and all the things that come with that, the things that maybe people who are learning about blockchain should be thinking about when they're looking into projects that maybe they want to build on or that they want to invest in is, are the economic incentives such that it's a really robust network, right? So you're not only rewarding miners, but you have 45,000 nodes all over the world. That's excellent. The zero knowledge proofs, like you said, so the privacy, and then I forget the other one.
The scalability part.
Scalability.
Yeah, because these networks, you can tell like Ethereum's a victim of its own success. It's so successful and you have so many transactions trying to go through blocks, then you have competition for fees because of that to get that valuable real estate on the block. It just doesn't scale. And that's with 1% of 1% of 1% of the world using this stuff. Imagine when actually 1% of the world starts using this stuff, or 10% of the world. Like we really need better architectures. And that's why we've been building for the last several years something that we just completed the platform. It's going through third-party audit right now and integration testing. It goes live on mainnet end of Q3. We've taken years to do this right because we knew that we wanted to win that long game. We want to be the blockchain in 5 or 10 years. It's everywhere. You don't even think about it. It's not this sexy thing where everyone sees the Horizen logo everywhere. No, it's just the apps running on your phone, the apps running on your computer, maybe like things that governments are doing to, secure your property rights. All of those things are happening on our infrastructure on the background.
Sure. I think that's kind of the goal for the future of blockchain, is that this architecture just kind of disappears into the background. We don't really think about like VoIP all the time, or like how, how we make a phone call or how we access our bank. And it's got the little key in the top left corner, which means it's encrypted, but you're not thinking about that when you're accessing your bank website. You just know that a lot of work has gone into making these products easy to use and secure. So yeah, that's awesome. So what is like the roadmap for you guys? You said mainnet launch Q3. Where are you at now? Where are you headed?
Yeah, so that big Q3 mainnet launch is pivotal for the project. The last 4 years, we've been a cryptocurrency, a privacy-preserving cryptocurrency, right? I could send you some Zen, and we can, basically provide privacy on that transfer. And that was a big thing back in 2017 when we launched in that privacy coin space. All of the work we've been doing since then is opening up a huge, massively scalable privacy-preserving platform where we extend that from being coin transfer to now arbitrary data structures we keep private. So we can actually scale this tech really hard into the enterprise domain and like government use cases and things that you need large, persistent, low-cost infrastructure that has these privacy tools. So our path to there, we hit that first critical milestone in end of Q3. So really, I would say we've hit it in a way where the software is done. We're just doing this right and going through a couple rounds of third-party audits, so we can have like fresh eyes looking at everything. Very, very rigorous, like a 4 or 5 month long integration test phase, and then we're going to go live on mainnet. So we're doing it responsibly. From there, we're going to have a whole series of deliveries that quickly follow that add really important security tools and just like tools for developers. So right now you can look at what we're delivering into Q3 is like a platform for geeks, like geeks that love this tech, love zero knowledge proofs. They love distributed, like Ouroboros Prowse, peer-reviewed proof of stake protocol. They love this stuff, and we have an SDK that's really geared for geeks. And we're, don't be too afraid of it because it's still useful, and you can still launch your own, blockchains with us and with some tools. But we're going to have a series of rapid deliveries along with really big use case deliveries to showcase how this technology is going to be used in a really big way.
Yeah, so you mentioned 2017. Would you say that that's kind of when the blockchain industry really started paying attention to these private blockchains? Because I entered the space around that time, and I remember learning about like Zcash and Monero back then. Is that kind of the history and trajectory you think of blockchain?
That's when they became popular. That's exactly right. Now, in the earlier days, we were doing things like coin joins and mixers and things like off-chain mixers. And that was interesting to experiment with these ways of like obfuscating transactions. But really, until we integrated these kind of like mixing engines or privacy tools into the protocol itself, they were all suffered for critical vulnerabilities. I would say 2017 was really the year where it started getting popular as Zcash and Monero. And then I have to say Zen, although
absolutely,
we're still relatively new because we're still getting our big platform to market in a few months.
Would you say there's a misconception among people who maybe are just entering the space or haven't done a ton of research on it about how private Bitcoin actually is and why privacy is important?
Absolutely, huge misconception because we do pseudonymity or pseudo. I can't even pronounce it. Like that pseudo anonymous word, right? You're not anonymous, but you have like a text string. And people think that they're private because they're hiding their identities behind a text string. But actually, there are very sophisticated correlation analytical tools that can link your kind of text string and then all of the transaction history back to your identification at some point. Like you're going to slip up at some point. You're going to register on an exchange somewhere in the world. You're going to do some transaction where your name is revealed. And now every single transaction you've ever done with that cryptocurrency ever is going to be revealed to the world, or at least to the people who've done that correlation analysis. This was the big problem we were solving back in the 2017-ish, like that era when privacy coins became popular. At least the market back then started realizing Bitcoin really isn't all that private. And if this stuff's going to scale and we want to solve some of the social problems that we want to solve in the world, we really need better privacy.
Yeah, and I think we've had a lot of discussions on this show. So for anyone just tuning in, again, go to YouTube Reimagine 2020, talking with like Paul Brody from EY, who works with enterprise. And this like kind of private public blockchain debate. And you're right that as this technology scales, people are not going to want, enterprises are not going to participate if they don't have privacy, but private blockchains, as we have not privacy focused public blockchains. So maybe there's a distinction you can help me make there for people who are just tuning or just learning about this. That a fully private blockchain for just one company, like just kind of defeats the purpose of a blockchain in the first place. So we're going to need these privacy focused public blockchains.
That's exactly right. So the way I look at it is in the early days of networking, say in the 90s, all these companies who started learning about networking said, okay, networking is the future, let's build our intranets. And they all started networking their companies, right? They had different divisions within that company. And then they quickly realized, well, actually, it's this public internet thing that's actually valuable. So we can communicate with the world. Well, I see the same evolution in the blockchain industry. Is enterprises initially said, well, we're not comfortable with the public blockchain thing. We're going to do our own like private blockchains. And they would use tools like, Hyperledger and these other like, private blockchain tools where they're basically creating like databases for themselves with their own company or maybe a consortium of companies. Even the consortium model is a little more useful. Now, what we do is like our technology actually bridges that public-private blockchain gap. And this is an important point because with our tech, you could actually launch your private blockchain. Like you can keep a blockchain that you launch with our tools, keep it private. So you can have like your own, I don't know, media consortium, banking consortium, whatever, government agency consortium blockchains that you want, keep them private. Only you guys can run the nodes. You can appoint who's allowed to join the network. But you can use zero knowledge proofs with our interoperability protocol to publish proofs or certificates back to the main public network. And the world can verify that what happened on your private network is actually valid. So like all of the state transitions, all those things that happened on your private network, without revealing any of them to the world can still verify that you're not cheating somehow. So this could be useful in like, say like a government property registry, and some government that doesn't necessarily have like the trust of its people or international investors could commit to land registries being done on a blockchain, but they don't want the whole world to see it all per se. They can say privacy reasons, we don't want the world to see all of these property records. But we still want to prove to the world that this registry is adhering to the rules that we publish. That's where our technology comes in, is you can still publish zero knowledge proofs back to the public network and the world can verify it. So it's a really powerful tool.
Absolutely. And then speaking of these developer tools that you have developed, blockchain is a really hard technology to build. And we know firsthand, Mousebell Engineering, for anyone who needs help with some blockchain engineering, check us out. But we have our whole own suite of developer tools. And, I've had students tell me that even just our Block Explorer is a good way for them to educate people on how a blockchain works, SDKs, all of that. If you need to add a wallet to your app that you're doing, you can kind of spin it up quickly, not reinventing the wheel. Like, how important do you think these kinds of tools are, and the developer support that is needed in the space right now?
Critical. So we're still in the early days of the industry where it's all about developers. And I'm saying this after I just said, hey, everyone's important to these networks, but just from like a tech maturity perspective, we need to get the products much better, much more user-friendly. And the way you do that is by really giving the full set of tools to developers to build themselves. Like the thing is, like we have a foundation in Horizen. We have Horizen Labs, a big, VC-backed software arm that has a bunch of developers. We can't do it all ourselves. Like if we're going to succeed as an ecosystem, we need to actually provide the right tools so that people can take those tools and actually build useful things in the ecosystem. So it's absolutely critical. And we're actually in a race to, now we built a whole product team with their entire purpose to exist is to like focus on dev tools, and that's it.
That's awesome. We did that really early on when we launched as a development shop, was spent a bunch of money and time just building a bunch of developer tools, and makes our lives easier. And we've, awarded students prizes for building on them and during hackathons. So I think that was going to be my next question. How are you incentivizing or encouraging people to build on your network? And what are some of the coolest projects you've seen people kind of tinker with on Horizen?
So we have a few different incentives programs. One, which I'll announce here, is we have a Zen Ventures initiative. So this is basically a consortium of VCs that are coming together and committing capital to building within the Horizen ecosystem. And what we're doing to turbocharge that is we're taking the treasury, the public treasury for the network, and we're matching investments that VCs and the consortium make in startups or developers who are building on the network. And we're going to match with non-dilutive grants from the foundation, right? Really from the treasury. So this is one way where we're kind of like, we're turbocharging a grant program by bringing in professional investors who can do the screening, the monitoring, to pick good investments of the right people to fund and the right businesses to fund. So that's one way we're doing it. The other is we have a grant program on steroids that's still different, more geared towards developers. It's called the Horizen Developer Environment. And this is one where we post basically a series of like tasks with bounties on, and we're going to be like beefing that up a lot with a lot more resources. So we have like this public grant program, and then there's a VC consortium, all geared towards funneling a lot of capital in. The third thing is, Horizen Labs just closed a $6.6 million funding round. So we're hiring like crazy. We're raising more capital. We're building out teams, and basically we're getting a lot of smart people, engineers, scientists, mathematicians onto the project at the protocol level and the product level.
Absolutely. So any interesting use cases that you've seen of people using Horizen?
Yeah, so one, it's a little bit of a geeky use case, but really powerful. So I'll talk about it here because like we're all geek lovers, right? It's called ZK Audit. We basically built a blockchain-based decentralized audit tool. Audit for what? Proof of reserves, proof of crypto reserves. And we're partnered with Celsius Network, the largest lender in our industry, peer-to-peer lender, where they take in crypto collateral and they issue loans on it. Well, the big problem for Celsius is they're a CeFi app. They're not DeFi, they're CeFi. So their users have to trust the company and their service providers, their vendors, not to either commit fraud or incompetence and lose funds. So what we have now is a blockchain-based, zero-knowledge enabled audit tool where they commit signatures from their addresses that they control, starting with Bitcoin, into zero-knowledge proofs. And then basically our sidechain application can monitor the Bitcoin network continuously and actually prove near real time the level of reserves that Celsius has. That's a kind of a simple, like elegant use case where we use zero knowledge proof, so you can't see the institutional holders or fund flows on their network. So we preserve privacy there for important financial transactions, but we can still prove to the world that they control the reserves that they claim that they can control. And in this crypto world where there are really notable players that make big claims that are later proven to be fraudulent, the fact that Celsius is willing to commit to a blockchain-based, like cryptographic, tool that monitors the reserves is really big. Now we're going to extend this beyond Celsius. This could be a tool that exchanges can use to prove their reserves, which is really important. And then it could basically take a part of you say like EY or PwC, like the traditional auditors. Rather than hiring auditors, you can actually have a blockchain-based tool where the world can near real-time audit things that before you would have private auditors do. So that's one really exciting tool where we leverage our network, our zero knowledge proofs, and like work with one of the biggest lenders in the market.
I think that's so cool. And anybody who's, involved in this blockchain space knows that the fundamental thing that we're trying to do with this technology is remove the need for trust, right? I shouldn't have to just trust that Celsius has the collateral or that they say that they do. And we love Celsius over here. We've interviewed Alex Mishinsky many times. So check those out on YouTube. It's such a great tool for showing my friends, why they could maybe be putting their savings into a non-traditional bank that's going to give them more interest. And I think it's great. I think that, perfect use case for something like this and something that makes a lot of sense for what we're trying to build with this technology. And yeah, I just think that's great. So we've heard a little bit about what you guys are building, where you're at on your roadmap. Congratulations on being done with all the development and putting it through such a rigorous audit process and all of the awesome things you're doing with grants. I think we've seen over the last few years as we've worked with these blockchain protocols and kind of told them, encouraged them how important education is. They're also putting money into funding educational grants and getting courses built. And I just think that's really great. Coming back to our theme for this event, Bitcoin and Ethereum have kind of been coming under fire for maybe not being environmentally friendly, slow transaction speeds, high gas fees. Is ETH 2.0 going to fix all of this? So we just kind of wanted to ask people, what are your opinions on the Bitcoin and Ethereum ecosystems, and what do you think the future holds for them?
Look, I love them. I love all of them, and I love all of the experimentation. And I could say we are, to your theme, we're more collaborative than super competitive, in the sense that we're carving a completely different competitive space in this industry. We're not going after Bitcoin store value use case with Zen. Zen's actually a utility for like a network, for like a gas in our network. We're not going after Ethereum smart contract devs trying to port them over to Horizen like a bunch of other projects. That's like their big strategies. They're going to bring over these Ethereum smart contract devs because they have lower fees. That's not us at all. We're actually going after really big infrastructure plays where our technology just makes a lot of sense to deploy at scale, something that has a competitive advantage of, if you believe that privacy is important for data on public networks, we're a really good play in that direction. And we're probably one of less than half a dozen companies and projects in the world that can actually handle these types of data structures on blockchains. So that's a really big competitive value prop that I think goes beyond, it kind of like in a way goes around Bitcoin and Ethereum. It's like tangential to their competitive space where we'll all coexist and do really well. And I think the world is a much better place for having all of these projects and all of the experimentation.
Absolutely. So no one's kicking Bitcoin off the throne quite yet.
Right, exactly.
Well, yeah, and so with all of this attention and understanding that these chains maybe can't do everything that we might want a blockchain to do, there's this, considered this third generation blockchain space, and Horizen might be a part of that. But are there any other projects that you're really paying attention to right now, or that you're really excited about?
Yeah, there are, and sort of for selfish reasons, because we're pretty similar and we're learning a lot from them and positioning ourselves relative to them. But I look at projects like Polkadot, Cosmos, because of the sidechain systems that they have. We basically have like a sidechain system that removes the validators, and we use cryptographic circuits. So that's kind of the difference between us and them, but we're very similar in the sense that we're doing sidechains. We also look at Cardano because our sidechains themselves are very similar to Cardano, but with an important thing where I also look at Mina, M-I-N-A, another project, because we've kind of combined Cardano and Mina on our sidechain system, where we have like a state succinct version of Ouroboros Prass. So we look at these projects because we're very similar. They're like sister technologies that we put together in a different, unique way that's targeting really a completely different market.
Absolutely. Very cool. Well, I hope that gives a place for people watching to go learn more about some of these other chains if they are just getting in the space and I know about Bitcoin and Ethereum, but what else is out there? What are they doing? So check out, Polkadot, Cosmos, Cardano, Horizen. So for anyone who wants to learn more or get involved, I know you said you're probably going on a hiring spree soon, or what kind of people do you want to hear from, and how can they find you?
So everyone, we want to hear from everyone. And the best way is horizen.io, Zen, like our ticker symbol, right? But so that's the one-stop shop for everything. On there, you'll see a careers page, and you'll see a tab for or a developers tab. So if you're a developer, you're interested in participating, you can check out our GitHub, and you can check out the Horizen Developer Environment, HDE. We also have an early access program because we haven't launched the platform yet. We're launching end of Q3, so you can join for early access to tools and tutorials on that path. The other is join our Discord channel. If you're just a crypto blockchain enthusiast, if you're a privacy enthusiast, join our Discord channel, join our Telegram channel, just participate. Come in, say hi. We're a pretty friendly bunch.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much, Rob. And thanks everybody for tuning in. This has been Reimagine 2021 version 9, Game of Chains. And we're here with the CEO of Horizen Labs, Rob Viglione. Thanks for joining us again, Rob.
Thank you for having me.
Stay tuned, everybody, for more.